What's up, mi gente? My name is Elijah Gill. We're here with an amazing actor that you may have seen on Godfather of Harlem and so many other great movies and television shows. Welcome, the amazing Elvis Nolasco. Now, you being such a big figure as an Afro-Latino in the entertainment industry, has that journey been an easy journey for you to represent the Afro-Latinidad?
Oh, a big figure. Just want to say that came out of his mouth. But yeah, no, I get what you're asking, and it's a beautiful thing when you're able to go through certain obstacles. You know, early in my career, it was, you're not this enough, you're not that enough. And it was always something in my head, well, I am enough, and why can't I be both? Why do I have to succumb or agree to just be one thing when I am so many things? You know, I'm black, you know, I'm indigenous, melanin, you know, I speak Spanish. But what do I identify with? And, you know, born and raised in New York City, the concrete jungle, you know, has taught me a lot throughout the years. And my friends were a diverse group of other immigrants, Polish, Greek, Chinese, Puerto Rican, and my African-American, you know, brothers and sisters. So I grew up in this place where it actually taught me that I'm a lot more than just Latino or Dominican. You know, my parents, God bless them, when they left Dominican Republic in 1965, they went to Santurce, Puerto Rico. And from Santurce, Puerto Rico, 2 years later, they were in New York. They didn't go to, you know, York Avenue. You know, they went to Harlem and they were welcomed. And yeah, so, you know, as far as the industry is concerned, there's always been that fine line where you know you're an artist. You would never tell Al Pacino or Robert De Niro that they could only play specific roles because of their last name. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, it would be disrespectful to say Italian actor Robert De Niro. Yeah. You know, no one says African-American actor Denzel Washington. So, you know, it's been a challenge, but I think that being able to get past that and being able to do the work that I've been blessed to do really shows that we don't have to step away from who we are, but that we have to stay committed to the craft so that we can be what we know that we can be, truly thespians, and be able to portray the feelings, portray the emotional, the vulnerability of a character, you know, whether he's from Cuba, Jamaica, Trinidad, you know, Dominican Republic, you know, I think it's about the craft at the end of the day. So as hard as it can be for a lot of us in the industry, we continue to put our best foot forward and continue to break down those barriers.
At what age did you decide that acting was for you? And, you know, your parents coming here in 1965 to America from Puerto Rico, from DR to Puerto Rico to America, were they okay with the idea of going into the entertainment industry? Because so many, you know, Latino parents are, you know, that it's off-putting. You gotta, you know, they come to this country, you gotta be a doctor or a lawyer.
Oh yeah. No, good question. And yeah, absolutely. You know, my dad was a professional tailor. You know, he learned the trade early and throughout all his life. That's all my dad did. He made clothes. My mom worked really hard in different factories as a single parent, raising me and my brothers in New York. And, you know, my mom taught me the value of hard work at a very young age. And, you know, jokingly, my mom would say, you know, if you have to wash toilets or clean toilets, be the best at it, you know. For me, it was something that I've always been passionate about, entertainment since I was young. I grew up dancing in a household that every weekend, you know, at my grandmother's house in the Upper West Side, all my uncles and aunts would be dancing, and they played all kinds of music, you know, from disco to salsa, merengue, And, you know, I grew up just watching my family dance, and that gravitated to me. So when I learned how to break dance at an early age, I had no idea that learning this amazing craft, this amazing art of breakdancing would be the thing that I would utilize on stage in my very first equity production called Bobo's. We shot it, we performed it in Philadelphia, written by James McBride, the amazing author, writer, James McBride. But you know, to get more specific about your question, my mother was constantly asking me to get a job. You know, just get a job, you know, get a job. No, no, mami, que me gusta la actuación, pero eso no deja, muchacho. That, you know, because, look, my mom worked in factories, but trust me when I tell you, you know, she was able to work her butt off. And, you know, today, if you visit Dominican Republic, you'll see that all her hard work proved itself. But, you know, I got to say this because I heard that a lot until 1994, when I was able to play a VHS copy of I Like It Like That, my very first feature film. And I was like, Mami, ven, siéntase ahí. And I went to the VCR and I put it in there. She didn't know what she was going to watch. And I pressed play and she watched it. And then that's when she was like, oh. Oh, wow, mira, ese eres tú. Oh, eso es lo que tú haces.
The fourth season is about the premiere of Godfather of Harlem, and you know, you look at your career from then until now, you've accomplished so much. Now, as we get into Godfather of Harlem, what is it like to have a fourth season about to premiere, to be on something that, you know, so many people enjoy, and to be a part of a cast of, you know, so many diverse actors?
It's a wonderful feeling. It's a really wonderful feeling. You know, as you know, or as a lot of actors know, you shoot a pilot, you might go straight to, you know, to season one or not. Sometimes a lot of those pilots, they get shelved. So you go through a lot of this, so you kind of walk into something with like some expectations, but not too many expectations, because you just never know. But the wonderful team over at Godfather of Harlem, Chris Brancato, and the late Paul Eckstein, you know, they put a story together that really resonates with people. And we're dealing with the underworld, you know, a real life figure, Elworth Bumpy Johnson, and his activities in the 60s, in the 50s and 60s in Harlem, New York. But then you also have the civil rights movement. And so you mash that together, and, you know, how the team has been able to weave these storylines is what's been getting us to where we at now. Working with this amazing cast is a blessing as well.
Wow.
You know, we introduced Rome Flynn in season 4, who plays Frank Lucas, you know, but just being in that space. One time we were shooting a scene in Bumpy Johnson's office, and the scene had myself, Eric LaRae Harvey, who plays Chance, and Forrest, and Whoopi Goldberg. And it was one of those things where it hit me out of nowhere. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm working with 2 Oscar winners. Well, one is an EGOT, Whoopi Goldberg. But, you know, Forrest Whitaker is an Oscar-winning actor. But, yeah, it's just a wonderful blessing to be part of this.
So you mentioned the season of Godfather of Harlem, and obviously we see Rome Flynn will be on this season, another fellow Afro-Latino. Did you guys have any conversations about your Afro-Latinidad, or did you know he was Afro-Latino?
No, honest to God, we didn't have that. There's a certain space, or there's a certain, like, core group of, you know, actors that, you know, come prepared or come, you know, ready to shoot, you know. So a lot of times, you know, that extra chitty chat talk, you know, you're kind of respectful to that, you know, to that space, you know, you give the actors that space. So no, we didn't delve into, you know, conversations about being Afro-Latinos, you know, but you know, I know it's not a secret that, you know, he's, you know, Cubano. And it's a beautiful thing, man, because we need to see some of these stories being told, right? We're a community that I feel is very underrepresented, you know, and like we all know who Roberto Clemente is, you know, we know who Machito and the Afro-Cuban band is, Celia Cruz. So we know this community is there, of course, you know, baseball, you know, you name it, is full of Afro-Latinos. But we don't see these stories being told, or we don't see these families or this community on a television or movie basis that focuses on that, you know, and what it means to be that, and what it feels like to be that, especially when you go outside of that community. You know, like I lived in LA for 11 straight years, right? And I'm so proud of my Latinidad. And no disrespect to anyone, but this is my experience. I would go to Ralph's or John's or Vaughn's or whatever, and I'm being served by someone that I'm clearly know that they're Latino, that they speak Spanish. So for me, those 11 years, like, unless I'm talking to my mom back home, I'm not really talking to people in Spanish, you know? So when I would go to the supermarket and I would be like, oh, muchísimas gracias, que tenga buen día, I realized after a while they never respond back in Spanish.
Wow.
They would reply back in English.
Wow.
And I'm like, what's that about?
Yeah.
Because then the next person they taking care of, they talking to them in Spanish.
Yeah.
So, you know, I peeped that a few times and I'm like, okay, I don't know what that is. But maybe in their minds, I shouldn't be speaking Spanish, or why are you speaking Spanish? How did you learn how to speak Spanish? So just being able to experience that just makes you tells me that more work needs to be done.
Now you come from the hustle and bustle of the acting world. When you see so many actors get cast in things based off the numbers they do have on social media, as someone who loves and has trained for this craft, what does that make you feel as well?
You know, more power to them. I can't hate on that. I don't hate on it. You know, it's what works. Again, you know, I personally don't do that, can't do that, because I have this really in-depth, true passion for the craft. That's just where I come from, and that's just who I am, and that's who I become. And if that works for them, that works for them, and I'm okay with that.
Well, Elvis, this has been such a pleasure. I appreciate you so much for stopping by. Thank you for all you've done to representing so many Afro-Latinos feeling seen. We feel seen. Thank you for that. And we're so excited for everything you have coming up. And, you know, we're hoping and praying that you get all those things greenlit, because we want to see ourselves represented even more. So thank you for that.
From your mouth to God's ears, man.
Yeah,
Thank you, man.
Thank you. I appreciate
you, brother.
Appreciate you.
No doubt.